imagine a warrior, so feared that even death flees his shadow. Once, he was Typhon, captain of the Death Guard. Now, he is Typhus, the Herald of Nurgle, the walking plague that laughter follows. He carries a weapon that reaps not crops, but lives, the massive Manreaper. Destroyer Hive, a scythe caked with centuries of rot. Inside his armor hums a nest of daemon flies, millions of them, whispering in the dark, gnawing at the edges of reality. When he speaks, it sounds like a corpse learning to breathe again. When he laughs, it's the sound of maggots squirming through metal. Welcome to the Halloween arc of Brush and Blood, where the minis ooze, the stories curdle, and tonight's subject is rot itself given purpose. This is Typhus, the herald of the plague god, the scythe of Nurgle, the voice that turns plague into poetry and war into a harvest of decay.
Welcome back to Brush and Blood, where Warhammer meets the real world. Tonight, the rot runs deep, the candles flicker green, the paints smell faintly of mildew, and the flies won't stop circling the light. It must be Halloween because we're summoning one of Nurgle's greatest champions to the painting table. We're painting Typhus, Herald of the Plague God, father of the Destroyer Hive, and the living symbol of entropy in motion. As I bring this miniature to life, we'll dive into his dark history, from loyal captain of the Death Guard to the chosen scythe of Nurgle's will. We'll explore how a single man's curse became an army's damnation, how faith rotted into devotion, and why Typhus is one of the most feared figures in all of 40K. Disclaimer: this episode features descriptions of plague, decay, and corruption, all part of the Death Guard's grim beauty. So, if your stomach's strong and your brush is ready, let's step into the garden of the plague god.
Let's get it on!
Who was Typhus before Nurgle? Typhus was not always the Herald of Plague. Once, he was Calas Typhon, first captain of the Death Guard Legion. He was born on Barbarous, the poisoned world where Mortarion ruled over his legion. Unlike his brothers, Typhon already carried a dark inheritance. Whispers say the warp tainted him even as a child. He was brilliant, cunning, and ruthless, known for his iron will. As first captain, he stood at Mortarion's side through the Great Crusade, feared by friend and foe alike. But when Horus turned against the Emperor, Typhon sealed his legion's fate. He sabotaged the Death Guard's fleet, leading them into the warp where Nurgle's plagues consumed them. What began as loyalty twisted into betrayal, and from that rot was born Typhus, Herald of the Plague God, the master-crafted Manreaper. Typhus carries one of the most infamous weapons in the galaxy, the Manreaper, a master-crafted daemon scythe. Once a weapon of honor, forged for the champions of the Death Guard, in Typhus's hands it has become an instrument of decay. The Manreaper cleaves through armor and bone alike, every cut-spilling rot that spreads faster than blood. Its edge is impossibly sharp, yet it drips with corruption, flies, and pus. To face the Manreaper is not just to face death, it is to face eternity as part of Nurgle's endless plague. Lore vignettes. Before the fall. Picture Typhon during the Great Crusade. At the Siege of Olenor, he led the Death Guard through walls of fire and steel, his voice booming through the Vox, unshakable, relentless. His brothers spoke of him with awe, a captain who never faltered, whose iron resolve seemed unbreakable. He was the Death Guard's bulwark, their pride. But even then, whispers followed him. His victories always carried a shadow. When he left a battlefield, Disease-lingered plague camps sprang up where he had passed. The corruption was already there, waiting for its bloom. After the fall, centuries later, as Typhus Herald of Nurgle, he brought the plague fleet to the shrine world of Heliarch Prime. The faithful gathered in their basilicas, singing hymns to the Emperor. Typhus walked among them like a shadow. The Destroyer Hive burst from his armor, clouds of daemon insects spilling through stained glass windows. The hymns turned to screams, then to laughter, then to silence. The basilicas rotted into ruins overnight. Heliarch Prime became a graveyard world, its oceans bubbling with infection. Real-world parallels war and pestilence. Typhus embodies two of humanity's oldest fears, war and plague. As a warlord, he is unstoppable, a general who knows no defeat. As a plague bearer, he is inevitable, spreading rot faster than armies can fight it. On the world of Carthon Reach, Typhus boarded an Astra Militarum flagship. The defenders fought bravely, every corridor clogged with last fire. But they never saw his true weapon, not the Manreaper, but the swarm inside him. The Destroyer Hive erupted, flooding the ship. Entire decks dissolved into sludge as men choked on flies. Within hours, the ship was silent. At Fortress Carcass, space wolves fought him in open battle. They hurled fire, bolters, and blades against him. For every wound, his laughter grew louder. When at last he fell, buried under flame and rubble, the wolves thought they had won. But at dawn, the plague fog rolled in and Typhus walked again, his body riddled with cracks but unbroken. The wolves called him the death that rises twice. Pop culture parallels. You've seen shades of Typhus in fiction. Sauron, a warlord who cannot be killed, only delayed. Every defeat is just another chapter in his return. Like Sauron, Typhus is not truly destroyed, only postponed. He's the rot that sleeps beneath the surface, waiting for the right season to bloom again. The Grim Reaper, scythe in hand, harvesting the living. But where death offers silence, Typhus offers music. The buzzing of flies, the groan of rust, the laughter of the dying. His scythe doesn't just end life, it spreads a new, fouler kind. The mummy, a cursed figure whose very presence spreads disease. Like the ancient pharaohs of horror, Typhus carries his curse wherever he walks. Tomb or starship, cathedral or battlefield, it doesn't matter. The air curdles, the walls drip, and the faithful choke on their own prayers. But Typhus is all of them, and worse. He is not a legend, not a ghost, not a fable to frighten children. He is inevitability made flesh. He doesn't haunt dreams, he haunts reality. When he arrives, it's not as a monster from beyond, it's as the natural end of everything. Because that's the true horror of Typhus. He isn't chaos unleashed, he's order corrupted. He's what happens when loyalty curdles into devotion and hope rots into faith. In Warhammer, he isn't the villain of a story, he's the final chapter. The decay that always wins no matter how many times you turn the page. And there he is, Typhus, Herald of the Plague God. Once the proud first captain of the Death Guard, now the voice of Rot itself. He carries the Manreaper, a scythe that harvests the living, and within his armor seethes the Destroyer Hive death in 1,000 buzzing wings. Another soul claimed by Nurgle's laughter. But next time on Brush and Blood, we're trading rust for redemption. We'll step from the plague pits into shining armor, the paragon warsuits of the Steel Angels. Saints of Steel, walking cathedrals of fire and fury, where faith becomes armor and vengeance wears a halo. Did you know? Some say paragon warsuits are so sacred that the machine spirit within them sings during battle hymns, echoing through the chaos, drowning out the screams of daemons. The faithful claim those songs burn hotter than promethium. So tell me in the comments, would you rather march with Typhus through the Garden of Nurgle, or stand beside the Steel Angels and light the darkness? Either way, next episode, The War for Souls continues. Disclaimer: this episode is for entertainment purposes only. Lore or history details may not be exact. This is about fun storytelling and painting minis, not perfect accuracy.
Not too bad.
The Sister of Battle have entered the battlefield. Next on Brush and Blood, watch as the Sister of Battle unleash bolter fire and roaring chainswords to cut through the vile Death Guard. Faith